Welcome to another installment of HScope tutorials. Today's topic is going to be triggers. HScope offers 3 trigger modes: auto, normal, and single. We're going to explore each one. Auto mode is the default. It's probably the mode that we would use most often. HScope does all of the work. It, behind the scenes, sets all the parameters so that we get a capture. I described it in the introduction to the series as not having to beg for a capture. So that's what auto mode does for us. Now, there are times where we want more precision on the placement of the trigger, where we want a little bit more control for it. Now, normal mode right here could also be kind of considered manual mode. It allows us to manually place the trigger cursor. I would like you to pay attention to this line right here, the origin. It's like the 0 timeline. So where the trigger cursor and the origin meet is really the start of the capture. We have time since the capture, but we also have a little bit of time leading up to the capture. Notice also that we have an option right here, whether we're going to be triggering on the rising edge or on the falling edge of the waveform. It's set right now on the rising edge, and watch as I move the trigger and how the intersection on the origin, right? You see how that positions the waveform? I'm going to select the falling edge. Notice how it moved over. And now we're triggering on the falling edge of that waveform. You'll also notice that when we're in a normal trigger mode, that the waveform horizontally might be more stable, all right, than in the auto trigger mode. Probably the most fun is the single trigger mode. Okay, so let's toggle from auto to normal, from normal to single. Okay, so it says that it is waiting for the trigger. All right, in this first example, I'm just going to press play right here, and you'll notice that it did a capture. It's no longer waiting for the trigger condition, right? The trigger was set and the condition was met. But I want you to pay attention down here where it says sweep lock. Okay, so that is one of the advantages of trigger mode. It performs a capture, the buffer fills, the trigger locks, the buffer will not get overridden. So when you're in normal mode and auto mode, this buffer is a continuous renewal. It will fill with sample points and then get rewritten with more sample points. The single trigger mode, one of its fun things is that you can get a buffer by just doing that one single trigger. The buffer fills, it stops from getting rewritten. Nice. I have another example here to try and illustrate the usefulness of single trigger mode. I'm simulating here a LIN bus waveform, right? That starts at 1 volt and goes up to 12 volt. Suppose you were suspecting that intermittently, like very briefly, that the LIN bus was going to ground, that it was being pulled down. We enter single trigger mode on the falling edge. We position the trigger a little bit below that 1 volt threshold. Okay, so if the LIN bus gets pulled to ground, it's going to cross that threshold and initiate an automatic capture. Press play, waiting for the condition, condition arrives, and the capture is taken. And the beauty is this screen lock, where the capture did not get overridden. Okay? The power of a single trigger mode. So another single trigger example. So suppose you have a 5-volt reference and you're suspecting that there are glitches in it from time to time and you'd like to catch that. Okay? So they may be very brief glitches. So you can see here the 5 volts. Enter single trigger mode on a falling edge, right? And we will position the trigger a bit below the 5 volts. So if the 5 volt drops and crosses that trigger, it should initiate a capture. Press play on single, it's waiting for that condition, right? So you can move around a harness, a connector, see if this glitch will come up. If it comes up, the capture will get taken. Again, notice that sweep lock at the bottom. Okay, so the buffer does not get overridden. We maintain our page. So finding uses for single trigger mode in our diags is only limited by our imagination. And I should also caution that it's a bit tricky, a little bit temperamental, requires a bit of practice. Okay, I make it look easy. It's not always easy. But before I can move forward with the main topic of this tutorial, which is triggers, I have to delve into a related topic. All USB digital oscilloscopes have an internal hardware buffer where the waypoints are temporarily stored. The contents of the buffer has to make its way into the software. That happens through the USB cable, which is kind of a bottleneck often. There are two ways in which the contents of the buffer migrates over here. At slower sample rates, it can be streamed, and that is called roll mode. At higher sample rates, it is moved as a block, as the entire buffer, and that is called scan mode. We know that we're in roll mode by that telltale scroll line that goes across the screen. We also know by the blue color of these lower sample rates. If we're in those blue colors, we're in roll mode. The higher sample rates, the ones that are in white, we're in scan mode. All of the trigger demonstrations done up to this point in the video were done while we were in scan mode. So the first point I want to make about using triggers in roll mode is that the single mode trigger is not available when we are in those lower sample rates in roll mode. So we're going to compare auto triggers and normal triggers while we're in roll mode. You'll find that in auto trigger in roll mode that maybe your waveform is a little jittery, like across the screen, like that. You'll also find an auto trigger in roll mode, this origin here, right down the middle. There's as much capture on one side of it after the trigger, and there's as much before the trigger. If we enter normal mode, do you see where the origin is right now? And do you see that everything is to the right of it? Okay, after the trigger has taken place, there's nothing behind. So applying a normal trigger while you're in roll mode can kind of extend our capture from the start of the trigger going forward. And it can maybe make the difference between being able to squeeze in a lengthy event in the amount of time and the amount of buffer that we have and not. So that concludes this tutorial. Short and sweet. It's my goal throughout this entire series. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one.